Through Thin Within, I've learned a lot about spirit-filled boundaries. Before the program, I probably had no boundaries. At work, at home, anywhere. If anyone at work asked me to do something, I would drop everything I was doing and help them. At home, the same thing. I never took time to think about what it was I might need at the moment. I know there's always emergencies and you can't avoid those, but on a day-to-day basis, I was going home just so frustrated after work every day. It's like, why can't these people leave me alone? And I learned through Thin Within that we are responsible for what we accept in, we're responsible for what we give out, and that it was up to me, through God's help, to go ahead and set some boundaries. And one of the first things I did at work, which was a funny one actually, everyone always came to me, Lynn, what do we do about this? Lynn, how do we handle that? And I would tell them. And one day this lady comes to me and she says, how do I process whatever it was she was doing? And I thought, I was about to tell her, and I'm sure God said, shut up. And I said, well, why don't you do it the way you think it should work? Because it wasn't a critical issue. And she went, oh, okay, maybe I'll do that. So she went and did, and it worked fine. It wasn't the way I did it, but it worked fine. And the procedure was fine. There was nothing wrong. I thought, this is unique. And I wasn't frustrated. I didn't have to go eat because I was tired at the end of the day from trying to take care of the whole world. And Judy always called it fix-it foxes and fix-it people. And that was me. I was a big fix-it person. I was trying to meet my needs by having other people dependent on me. And over the years, as time has transpired, a lot of people have come and gone. Nobody knows that I knew all this stuff at work. They do their own jobs. They don't burden me, and I don't feel frustrated. I can get my own work done. I never did that before. I was too busy helping the whole world. And at home, especially at home, with my family, the same thing. To not try to tell them how to live their lives, not try to tell them what to do, not how to do any simple thing, to let them do it themselves. And it takes a huge burden off of me, and it takes a huge burden off of them. They don't resent me, and I don't resent them. And the same was even more true of food, because I was always very into exchange programs, and if it wasn't exchange programs that were not working, it was this special food, or it was a rice and water, you know, all the crazy things that we do. And I realized that just by eating regular food that I really loved and that my body loved in appropriate amounts, which was between hunger and fullness, that I was free, and I hadn't been free before. And that was a huge, huge relief to me. And that was all through the boundary setting, through being aware and in touch with what I'm feeling, with what I'm needing in my life. And it just was freedom, is the best way I can say it. Before Thin Within, I didn't trust anybody but me. I didn't want anyone to tell me what to do, how to do it, what time I had to be anywhere. I always complied because I wanted to keep my job, and I wanted my family, I wanted to be able to get along with them, you know, over time, of course. But before that, nobody would tell me what to do. I wouldn't listen to them. And I had plans for everybody's lives around me, big lofty goals that they had to attain that I didn't know how they were going to make, but they had to do it. And after Thin Within, it didn't happen overnight. I can't say that. It's been a very slow process in some ways because I'm really stubborn. But I realized that everybody has to set their own goals for their own lives, that I have to work on my life more than everybody else's life, that by working on my workmate's life and my family's life, I was avoiding working on my life. And through Thin Within, Judy taught us that we had to work on our own lives, focus on our own errors, get in right with God, and let God take care of our family and our friends and our work situations. And that was very foreign to me before that. I always had a real tight grip on everybody. Very much a worrier. If a family member was on a trip in a car, I would just worry myself sick. I would stay up all hours of the night. I'd want to know, are you okay, are you okay? And then when they would finally get home and call me, or someone would show up at my home, it's just like, oh, thank you that they're home safe. But I had no peace. Now, it's not an issue for me. I pray for them. I ask for God's protection for them. I let them go, and God brings them back, and it's, oh, you were gone. I didn't even realize the time had gone by, which for me is a huge change. I have not ever been that way in my life before. And that was from learning the principles. That was from learning to trust God and to let go. I can't do it all, and I'm not God. I've tried, and trust me, I'm not God, and neither is anybody else. And we need to let God do the work. And that's really been the biggest change in my life, that and getting over obsession with trying to control everything I ate, everything I said, and just let God handle it. He's a lot better at it than I am. Before Thin Within, my identity in Christ was basically, I felt like a second-class Christian, that God didn't really like fat people because he thought that we were all weak-willed and that he had given us all this wonderful food to eat and we were just too weak to manage all of it. And I didn't think that God really cared about me individually as a person. He cared about Christians as a whole, and he loved all of us as a whole, but that I wasn't anybody special, and I was never going to be anybody special. So I kind of stood in the background a lot. I would wear dark clothes and heavy sweaters, and I just didn't really want anyone to see me. And that was pretty much how I lived a lot of my life. After going through the Thin Within process, which was just a total revolutionary way of thinking for me, I've started coming out of that through trust in God and through trust in myself. I never trusted myself. I always believed that I couldn't be trusted around food, that if I was at a buffet, look out, and that I wasn't going to be able to ever change. I always believed that I would just live out the rest of my life being this way, going from diet to diet to diet. And on Thin Within, I found out that that was really wrong, that I didn't have to live my life that way, that I could go ahead and trust myself. That was a big change for me, and that took a long time to have that sink in, that I could be okay around food, and I could choose to eat it or I could choose not to. It was not that big an issue. I don't want to go back to the slavery of diets. I don't want to have to weigh and measure everything I put in my mouth. I don't want to be at social occasions anymore and pretend I'm having fun with my seltzer water, ignoring all the food, because that's all I can think of is I wish I could go eat all the food and everyone would leave. And I'm not in that anymore. I have not binged in years. I still eat more than I need because I haven't lost all my weight, but I don't binge anymore. But when I start getting to that mentality that, wait a minute, something's really wrong, I'm off track, I'm out of God's will, I need to come back to center. And that's been my wake-up call.